All right, guys, let's talk about our favorite Scarlet Witch in the MCU. Let's talk a little bit about Wanda Maximoff. So, we're going to go over some comments that the showrunner of Agatha All Along, Jac Schaffer, made, and particularly one comment, but we're going to go over it, and I think it's interesting because it has some implications, or it may not. I think that there are a few ways to interpret this comment, and I want to talk about it in this segment. So, this segment will contain very light spoilers for Agatha All Along, but if you don't want to know anything, if you haven't seen the show, feel free to save this to watch later and then come back to it once you have, because we'll be talking a little bit about what happens in Agatha All Along. So, you've been warned. Agatha All Along, the big spoiler for this segment, Wanda doesn't show up, right? And they actually make some explicit references to Wanda Maximoff. They talk about the fact that they don't know if she is alive or dead. Actually, there's a point in episodes, I think 7 or 8, where Billy asks Agatha, so is Wanda dead? And Agatha says, yes, no, I don't know. And so they're really clearly toying with the idea that, the audience obviously wants to know, is Wanda Maximoff alive? And we're not going to really tell them, right? Whether or not Jac Schaffer herself knows, it remains to be seen, but we don't know if Wanda Maximoff is alive or dead. It seemed like from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness that Wanda was very clearly dead. However, that has never stopped the MCU from bringing back characters from the dead. Loki has died 70 billion times, let's not forget. So, if a character looks really dead, even if you see the body, I mean, in Infinity War, Loki was as dead, and they found a way. I know it's not the same Loki, but still, they found a way to bring Loki back into the MCU. So there is always a way, especially with the multiverse, to bring characters back. I'm not saying this is a good or a bad thing. In fact, I would say that this has the potential to skew negatively just by bringing back characters from the dead all the time, but it is what they can do with the multiverse. Now, Jac Schaffer has been doing a lot of interviews post Agatha All Along, and she was asked specifically about Wanda Maximoff because there was a line in the final 2 episodes where they talked a little bit about Wanda Maximoff. And this is what Jac Schaffer said. I'm not going to read the exact quote, but I'm going to paraphrase. She said basically, it is her belief that Agatha Harkness does not know what the fate of Wanda Maximoff is, as indicated by the whole line of yes, no, I don't know. So Jac Schaffer says it is her opinion that Agatha Harkness does not know the status of Wanda Maximoff, and it is her opinion that Rio does. This is pretty obvious, right? I mean, Agatha might have her suspicions and whatever, but it seems clear that she does not know exactly what happened with Wanda Maximoff. And Rio is Death. So obviously Death should know if Wanda Maximoff is dead, at least in Earth 616. She should know if Wanda is dead. So that makes sense. But then, Jac Schaffer, this is really what I wanted to talk about. Jac Schaffer then goes on to say something interesting. She says, I was instructed by Marvel to use the word gone and not dead. So here's an interesting scenario, right, that we have going on. Because Jac Schaffer is now in this territory. She's been saying this in interviews where she made Agatha All Along, and obviously she had to collaborate with Marvel. Insofar as, Marvel had instructions for let's not use Mephisto maybe, because maybe Mephisto shows up in Ironheart or whatever. She didn't actually say that, but this is my speculation. But, on top of the fact that she herself said she didn't find Mephisto particularly interesting, Marvel also is like, maybe hold off on that anyways. And so they, obviously whenever you come into the MCU, you have to collaborate with Marvel because they're telling a wider story. But, Jac Schaffer was able to pretty much tell the story that she wanted to with, limited restrictions. That being said, the status of a powerful character like Wanda Maximoff is obviously something that she is not going to have final say on. No matter how much, if she wanted to bring back Wanda Maximoff or not, that's a Marvel decision. So that's clearly something that Marvel is thinking about. So let's think about this quote, right? And its potential implications. Wanda is gone, not dead. That was the direct mandate from Marvel itself. This is coming from Marvel directly. What does this mean? First, so let's kind of go through some particular potential scenarios that this one quote might imply here. Scenario number 1, this implies that Marvel knows Wanda Maximoff is alive, and they're intentionally trying not to say that she's dead because they know that they're going to bring her back soon. So that's one scenario, right? And I will say, well, I'll go through all the scenarios and then I'll talk about, I'll talk during each scenario about what I think is the most likely. Scenario number 1 being, like I said, Wanda is alive and they don't want any show or movie to say that she's dead. I actually don't know that this is particularly I would not say that this is the highest likelihood option, honestly. And I'll go through some reasons why with the next scenarios, but I think that it's possible, right? If Wanda was alive, then sure. Go ahead, say that she's gone, not dead. But honestly, what's stopping Marvel from just saying that she's dead, right? And then just changing their minds later. Like, fans are not going to, get up in arms about the fact that they said she was dead in, Agatha All Along episode 8, and then later on in Avengers Doomsday, she shows up again. No one's going to be up in arms about that. It's, it's fine, right? So I honestly don't think this is the likeliest option, honestly. The other scenario that I find more interesting, and I think that, well, actually, there are two other scenarios. So here's the second one. The second one is not the one that I personally buy into. Here's the second one, though. Second one is that she's dead, and they just don't want to say that she's dead. They just want to use the word gone. I don't find this scenario particularly likely either, because it seems like Marvel is choosing their words very carefully, and so they wanted Jac Schaffer to specifically use the word gone instead of dead. So I don't think that, they actually believe she's dead concretely, and they're just like, well, let's not use the word dead for whatever reason. I don't think that's the case. Scenario 3, though, is what I personally am buying into right now. And this is what I think is actually happening here. Again, just pure speculation based on what I think and what I've seen. Scenario number 3 is that they just don't know. And they want to leave the door open. Because the thing is, right, I don't think the word gone implies that she's alive or anything like that. I think the word gone is just intentionally ambiguous. And honestly, right now, I don't think there are plans to have Scarlet Witch come back in the MCU by the multiverse saga, by the end of the multiverse saga. I just personally don't think there's enough time to do that. Maybe, sure, Elizabeth Olsen comes back in Secret Wars for a quick little cameo as a multiverse 838 Wanda or something like that. But to have her in a big role moving forward, I don't even think this is in their short-term plans. Now, long-term plans, because, the X-Men are coming, right? And Scarlet Witch, obviously in the comics, is a mutant in most iterations. So obviously in the X-Men, in the upcoming mutant saga, if that's what they're going to do, there might be plans for Wanda Maximoff. And honestly, what I think this is that I think Elizabeth Olsen has not agreed to come back. I think that she's still kind of on the fence. She's been giving those quotes that Andrew Garfield was giving before Spider-Man No Way Home about like, well, maybe if the story's right or whatever, but never say never kind of thing. And I honestly think that as of this moment, Elizabeth Olsen herself does not know she's coming back as Scarlet Witch, which means Marvel doesn't know she's coming back as Scarlet Witch, but they want to keep the door open. So honestly, I think the most likely scenario coming from this quote is that Marvel doesn't know, but they're hopeful that they can bring Scarlet Witch back. And so they instructed Jac Schaffer, let's leave the door not open, but intentionally vague. If she never comes back, well, she's dead, guys, and we just use the word gone, but she's dead. If she does come back, well, she was there and she was just gone for a little bit. I don't think it matters, though. This is the big thing. I know it's kind of hypocritical of me to make a big segment about this and be like, it doesn't really matter, but I genuinely just don't think it matters because, guys, would it make a difference at all if they said Wanda's dead and then she shows up in the next project? What's the next project? Daredevil Born Again or Captain America Brave New World? She just shows up in a post-credit scene. It doesn't matter because I don't think that at that point we're going to be talking about that. We're just going to be like, oh, they had plans at one point. Those plans changed. She's alive again. Okay, fine. We'll move on. I think that personally, I wouldn't read too much into this quote, even though I have just spent 8 minutes reading into this quote. But I just genuinely think that right now they probably don't know. And they're just leaving the door open for a potential return. But I ask you guys, do you think that this quote where Jac Schaffer was explicitly told to use the word gone instead of dead, do you think this indicates that Wanda is coming back? Let me know in the comments down below. And do you think that this means she's coming back imminently or maybe she's coming back later on down the road? Let me know in the comments down below.